So, welcome to the 44th meeting Open Chain Reference Tooling Workgroup meeting. Open Chain meeting. We are going to record this meeting. So, if you do not feel happy with this, you may still choose to drop off. But I guess everybody who's participating in this meeting is very well used to this sort of practice. Today we will have actually a few news and want to focus on the assignment of tools towards capabilities. I think it's almost 2 years ago that Oliver has done the first step to assign the tools. And then last year there has been some effort in providing the capability map as an agreed effort. And today we would want to review the situation of the different tools that have been identified over the last years to support the open source tooling processes and to assign them towards capabilities. Here, actually, we are very happy on all sorts of input because I think there will be always someone who's working with some of the tools and can give direct input into this effort, which is much better than doing some artificial tests on the tools. So this is where we probably can work as a community really to bring together all the experiences that we have. And all other business will be then in section 3, whereby I think if there is something important that we should put on the agenda as well, please let me know now. That seems like there's nothing to expect. So what's up this year? I came across a couple of events that might be interesting to open source users. There's the FOSDEM at the corner, February 5th and 6th. The schedule can be found under this address. There's lots of speeches. We did not succeed in getting a room, at least as far as I know. I was reaching out, but I did not reach to the correct form, and so I missed the deadline. I think there is a room, a dev room concerning the group around fossology. Who's in the meeting? No, there's none of the maintainers, so we can't get any updates on that. Also maybe interesting is that the FinOS project has today a kind of a kickoff call for the year, which is across all its communities, where they want to introduce probably the yearly agenda. It's at 4 p.m. GMT. I will add to the slides later on the registration link. Did forget it here. And also of interest is that IEEE is starting a research group on characteristics of open source project governance. Probably those of you from the Eclipse, familiar with the Eclipse Foundation, may already have some basic knowledge on that, but I think it's interesting to follow up this, especially because my understanding is that the future of software development, especially in industry-specific areas, will more and more go towards industry initiatives that will be organized as open source projects. and therefore the knowledge of the characteristics and the drivers of successful open source project governance, I think, will be a very important aspect of managing open source projects in the future. So I think it's a very important research to watch, and they have a public mailing list. You can register, and they have a public kickoff where it's possible to still shape the interest of and the focus of this research. So probably it's interesting for some of you to participate there as well. Is there anything else that you think it's important or upcoming in the community that should be mentioned here?
Hi, Jan, it's Sami.
Hi, Sami.
There is actually something today at 4. It's also sort of the Google experience or whatever you choose to in them setting up. And I think it's at 4 o'clock. It's organized by the Linux Foundation, or at least the invite I received came from the Linux Foundation. Mm-hmm. Might be of interest to a few people. I tried to look on their website, but I couldn't find the event there. But I certainly have it on my calendar.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'm happy to send the URL.
That's cool. It's in the chat. Yeah.
I'm just going to put it on the chat.
Okay. Cool. Jerry, you're mentioning Foss North, Sweden. I see here in the chat. So, thank you, Sami, for the link. And there's Foss North. Probably you may say something about it. I'm not familiar with that event.
Yeah, hi Jan and hi everybody. So yeah, I just posted the link there because there was the guy Johan something, and who I just met I think last year, and basically he used to be at this Mercedes Innovation or Ambition OSPO, and I think he posted this link on the LinkedIn, and yeah, then I just okay, what is this? I don't know much about that, except what's on the website. And then they have this call for papers, which is still open for 10, 11 days. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if there's somebody in this group who wants to present something there that could be interesting as well. But and it was supposed to be in person in Sweden, but due to whatever situation is still going on, it's all virtual.
Okay.
So that's kind of all I know.
Yeah, thank you very much. I will add it to the to this list before publishing the slides. Then, cool. So there's a lot of things going on, and just this morning I saw that. Also in the US, we see a lot of attention to this topic, and I think especially the use of open source components and the life cycle management of known vulnerabilities within within this open source is getting more and more attention, especially since we saw events like this Log4j happening. So most likely the pressure to get this organized and settled will grow over the next weeks and years. So most likely this is something that we definitely have a good understanding, and probably even it will be even more useful to provide the assignments here, because in the end, what we did with this capability model was to think about all the necessary steps and things that we require to make this available or make this capable, because the software bill of materials is the very first thing that you require, and to really make an understanding of what is inside your software, and then you can search for these vulnerabilities, and then You can even understand whom to address in case you have different versions with different toolings and different vulnerable things. So from my point of view, it would now be a very good idea to start assigning the different tools. This is the tool list that we have on the sharing creates value side. I would probably, we have some people on the call that are familiar with one or the other tool, and I would want to move into this setting so that we can start assigning the different tools into the capabilities. I guess we won't probably not finalize this today, but it might be a nice thing to conclude using our repository where we can add the changes as over time. So let's start right away and see whether we find someone who's familiar with one of the tools here so that we can drop it. For example, this one is a tool that we use for repository analysis. And this would be container, license, repository source. So it's part of this one. And it could be dropped here. And probably we can try to move this that way, the different tools. So if someone has experience with one or the other, and if one tool supporting several capabilities, then we just duplicate it into these capabilities. I'm sure someone may start in the round with any of these tools.
Hi, Julian Kocher here, speaking with ScanOSS.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we could fit ScanOSS in a few categories. I will start with snippet scanner. Sorry.
So you have your on the source code side, I guess.
Yeah, you have a snippet scanner on top, middle. That's definitely one of them. We also have dependency detection coming up in the both CLIs and the UI.
The binary one or
source.
Source, yeah. Okay.
Sorry, the screen is lagging a little bit. Then, with regards to license, acts, rights, obligations, we do return. We decorate every match with the OSADO information, so that every license comes with its obligations.
So, do you have a solver that is determining based on the project situation or the usage scenario the obligations, or is it something where you say, okay, this is the obligation that goes with the license?
It returns the obligations with the license and the incompatibilities.
Okay, so then it's this part. So it's a license repository that is supported. Okay.
What does package crawler mean?
Package crawler is the capability to draw down or pull the sources and assess the sources themselves once more. So it's not just taking the package information from the assembly, but it's also taking the sources, for example, pulling the Git repository, the associated one, and assessing the sources there.
Well, yeah, then it's not exactly. Sorry, we have a tool which is part of the platform that allows you to download a package and extract all the metadata from it. And makes it.
Yeah, but that's right. So you would probably crawl the package, but and would have actually the package data repository available, because obviously I can call ScanOS for getting metadata about a package that you have collected. But do you also assess the content of and go file by file and search, for example, for copyright information in the file, so that you can determine whether the effective licenses associated with that package are different from the declared ones?
That's right. The package is called Miner. It's part of the ScanOS platform, and it detects licenses, copyrights, extracts the copyright statements, and also detects cryptographic algorithms. It generates quality indicators. So it's a bunch of methods.
Mm-hmm.
This is open source, just like everything else we do. And then just to finalize, we also, I think, the compliance artifact generator, does that mean the obligations, I mean, all the attributions compiled? Is that what that means?
That's part of it, exactly, yeah. So,
because we have an endpoint where you can send the software bill of materials and it returns back with just that long text with all the concatenation of all licenses.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a kind of a notice file generator then.
Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, just top of my head, I think that will do for now.
Okay, cool. Anybody in the room that has experience, for example, with, I mean, I'm sure that someone is with using ScanCode.io or ScanCode or About Code. I guess there are many users here. No? Come on.
Yes, sorry, I was muted. ScanCode is definitely a license and copyright detection tool.
We'll go for the ScanCode toolkit. That's this one. Here, the ScanCode.io, I think, is the one that is using for the container scanning. Am I right?
Yeah.
And the toolkit would then be actually here, this dependency analysis, and also
copyrights.
It's not doing binary as far as I know. Can act turn here. Saw that one.
Wouldn't ScanCode toolkit be more in the license copyright and also scanner?
Sorry, I couldn't fully understand that. Could you please repeat?
Wouldn't ScanCode toolkit be more in the license copyright and also scanner?
You're right. Absolute. It's effectively doing that. But isn't it also doing the? No, you're right. It's not the part of the dependency analyzer.
Does it do the compliance artifacts generation?
Yeah. Does it also compile in the sense that it's creating SPDX output? Am I right? So it's getting actually the software bill of materials but it's only on how do you say that, repository base. It's not going through the dependencies, is it? I'm not pretty much sure of that, whether it's going through a dependency list. No, I think it's just on the, it's using this one and then creating the software bill of materials. Is there, are we familiar with any other solutions that are doing binary analysis? I remember that there's one solution that's from a German research institute, that it's called FACT. It's also open source. It's it's used for specific binaries. It's not that widely or has not that wide application or analysis path like Bang, but it's therefore probably a little bit more easy to use, but easy to handle, and it is made for embedded solutions. Has a smaller scope here, and it helps to scan binaries but only from particular packaging solutions. Not sure whether they are that wide, but that was used. Ord is also. Thomas is not on the call. No, obviously not. Elio, aren't you using Ord at BMW?
Yes.
So
Yep.
Please help me. I think I can. Ord is pretty widespread, isn't it?
Actually, for what I see, basically, Ord is becoming the main orchestrator for all the things around. It's for most of the companies that I see around, people are using Ord. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could you help me? Could you help me with the assignment to the different capabilities? Because as far as I understand, Ord is, for example, not covering everything, but it's supporting many of these analysis part or of these capabilities.
Okay. Or to do dependency analysis, or to do downloads and package crawler, or to actually analyze use the scan OSS and scan code and analyze the results of scan code, or evaluate results for this, and or can generate reports in SPDX. Not entirely completely valid SPDX yet, but or to do this process, everything. So and Ord can be used at some point as kind of OSS as well too, as one of the two disease sites. So and Ord can actually do the storage and report to a Stab360 and Artifactory and Firebase and Postgres storage.
It's actually using Software 360 as its package repository.
It can use. It's one of as a package repository, you can use several tools there. So basically, Ord is a major orchestrator for how actually the data is analyzed.
Jan, you can put Ord also for policies and rules, because you can define policies in Ord.
Correct.
And I would also say that you can put Ord to compliance artifact generator, because you get also the bill of material, but also the forced disclosure or notice statement if you want to.
Okay, cool.
Of course, and actually Ord can report for clearly defined as well, directly, and it uses clearly defined. So it says a lot of things. It's not a single. There's no other different name as you call it, orchestrator for this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Does Ord also provide some sort of audit logs or specific user access, or is it just the tooling?
Well, it depends what you call it, the audit logs. It's doing several reports. If you're looking for the report results, as Thomas wrote in the interface, it has a lot of data there that actually provides to tell what is failing based on your policy and rules and everything. So it do provide some kind of user audit log.
Okay, because what I'm thinking of, or what the capabilities that have been assigned here are from the compliance perspective, saying that, for example, someone is changing a rule or a policy, and then all of a sudden things are not found. They are put into the notice file in a particular thing, and then everybody's is giving saying okay, approval, and the tool goes out, and then somebody understands that the policies should have been different. Then it's maybe not bad having an audit log seeing who has changed the policies. Yeah. So that's what this audit log is about, yeah, and that's why you require some sort of user and role management, so allowing some people to do these changes and probably others not to do or not to change. That's.
Well, I think in this case it's not really Ort to things to do,
Okay.
because it's basically it's just generate a result based on the policies that are written elsewhere. You're written by any person to do that. I think this is more something that Opossum is stated, correct? Opossum UI, this is.
So this is going into that direction here, audit log rule management.
Yeah, they want to validate and everything is Opossum is more just like this.
Okay. We have another candidate, very popular one, that is probably here on this scanning side. I think we can put it in the license and copyright box.
Yes, absolutely.
And what else does it support?
I think it is something also for obligations. So maybe, I'm not sure if this can be put to legal solver, but it has some support for obligations as well. And it can report, it can generate some reports. So maybe also you can put it to compliance artifact generator. Just like SW60, by the way.
Where did I put it here? Okay, so this one you mentioned in the compliance artifact generator.
Yes.
And the license management. They're all. I think they're all taking the SPX database space, isn't it?
Yes, you can import it at least.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you can add the SPDX tools also to the compliance artifact generator. Oops. There's a typo, by the way. Kudos.
Licensee is having a kind of it's a bit a mixture of I think the license understanding, or it's more a license matrix, a compatibility check, isn't it? Or is it this more discovery?
I don't know that tool.
Okay, it's a tool that's used, for example, by GitHub to check in repositories. So this automatic assignment of when you have in the repository and the information about this about the core license is either manually entered or identified by licensing. At least it has been in the past. I'm not sure whether it's still that way, but. Okay, cool. We already did a lot of things, and we still have some time left. So, anybody some experience with the Apache family, the Apache Rat, Apache Tentacles, or Whisker? I've read about them, but I've never used them.
I've never heard about that.
Oh, really?
Really?
Go to Apache. That's what you get when you search for open source compliance. But actually, yeah, I've never used them.
I like to add also that both Ort and Foslight have integrated snippet scanning capabilities through ScanOSS. So
yes, correct.
Both tools bring the detection.
Very cool. Excellent. Cool. There's for sure one that we can add at this topic. It's software heritage. We should actually add. I'm not sure but it's not open source, is it? Or is it? I think the
software heritage.
Yeah, it's public, isn't it?
Yes.
So here we have a package archive. Is someone from SAP on the call? No. They have this it's actually vulnerability assessment tool. Ldb assessment tool. But I'm not sure what it is actually doing. Didn't try it out yet. I think it was from the SAP team provided.
Talking about Steady.
Pardon?
Is it called Steady? Eclipse Steady, the tool by SAP for security vulnerabilities?
I think it has been renamed at some point, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm not sure which is the current name, but I think this is the same tool and it has been renamed at some point in time.
Okay.
But I don't know much about it.
This is the tool name that is put on the sharing creates value list. So that's where I got it from, and I remember I have heard something like similar naming from SAP once, but it's already 2 years ago, so I have also no clue what the most recent is. Okay. Oops. Here's still one more for Sology. Anybody? What actually? As software is 360 antenna, isn't that a package crawler and dependency scanner? Obviously, no users of software 360 on the call.
Just remember, antenna is not SW360. SW360 antenna is another software using SW360 name. Just don't make it confused. SW360 and SW360 antenna are different things.
Yeah, that's right. As that's the repository, as far as I understood, and this is the supply, and that's why I was thinking it is the package crawler and the scanning thing. But probably I'm wrong here. Marcel, aren't you aware of how this is organized? I see you on the call. No, obviously it's not right. Okay. A CLA assistant actually is even here in front of everything because it's, as far as I understood, this is helping to assign or helping to manage the input into open source projects with contribution agreements. So this is a very specific tool that's probably even in front of the whole supply chain, but also important. I take the anybody some experience with Delta code or about code?
I mean, about code, so we probably should ask Philip about this, but in my understanding, about code is about this compliance artifact generation.
Makes sense from the title. So we can ask, we could ask Philip in detail.
I never worked with it, I just looked into this project and this is how I understood it.
So I will take this to Philip and clear it directly with him. Then, Barista, I researched that or came across this recently in a research, but I've still forgotten about what it is. OSS Police, that's nice. Okay.
One question about this vulnerability assessment tool. I think this is actually really now called Steady. I think it was called VULAS also in the past as a short form. Maybe you can add it in after /Steady. I think this is the current name of the tool. But do we consider vulnerability analysis at all in this map?
Well, no or yes. To be honest, the more I deal with this, I have difficulties in differentiating between the vulnerability management and the open source management in general, because it's getting so close.
Yes, exactly. maybe we should add it here on this.
The real connection between the real connection between one and the other is basically one single string there. So the tools in the side of compliance need to generate the CP strings that actually be used by the vulnerability part, and then. So this is, it's more kind of interconnected, but is for a very, very, very thin line.
Yeah,
vulnerability itself doesn't affect the compliance, and vice
No, it
versa.
doesn't affect the compliance, that's correct, but it affects, so that the BOM usually is taken as a source for vulnerability analysis to check if there are any packages included which are vulnerable.
Exactly.
So it is somehow related, yeah, but it's not the topic of the work group, of course.
Yeah, but at some point it will be. Just believe it or not, this will. So in this case, Jan is correct. Because this will bite us at some point as a real thing that we need to include in this part. So yeah. I would agree with you to actually put in this inside there. So the vulnerability things that we have, even one from the scan code team that actually do the vulnerability scan as well too, and open source tool.
Yeah, I would also vote for having this as really a dedicated component within our tool orchestrator, or within the whole, how do we call it, ecosystem, to have a dedicated thing for vulnerability. But how to call it? It's not identity, it's a retrieval, so to say. So to, based on the information we have about the used open source components, and then in combination with some public database or public available database of vulnerabilities, that you then know which ones are vulnerable. And I think this is a very essential tool in this, or functionality within this tool chain.
Correct. This is how it's important, is because in knowing what the vulnerability tools exist already, the tools that do the whole process that communicates with these vulnerability tools make you to understand the protocols. And as long as everyone see each other in the same map, they say, wait, we are talking about the same information, how actually you can actually make a standard way to communicate between tools. That's it.
Yeah. I think also it's close to the scope what we're doing, but from the focus we're not really in there yet. The question is whether those, and interesting, if our group is not pushing it hard, obviously the use case is still different. We are currently in the, I don't know whether you got aware of this, but Shane already introduced the what's it called, security compliant, security assurance specification. This is a software assurance specification of
it's a guide here rather than a specification.
I reviewed it yesterday and put my 5 cents in there, and I got the impression that it's actually looking a little bit like the document that we have done in the open chain for the specification. Yeah.
That is correct. That is correct. It's just not an official specification. It's taking the same format, and ultimately the goal is to turn it into a specification.
Yeah.
And it is taking the same format. I think for the time being, we're just calling it a guide, and it is actually not part of the open chain compliance specification. It is a separate document.
That's right. But I think the when we look into the supply chain security topic, which is, starting to drive around a lot, and I think that we get these two topics pretty close. Yeah. Yesterday, someone has pushed the Department of Defense new way to handle open source definition. Yeah. It was somehow published on LinkedIn.
Totally agree. I think a lot of the activities will need to be done at the same time when you do the compliance. So I think over time we will definitely see them merging together.
Yeah, and in addition, I also think it's a very, very good thing to do, because it gives more pressure or more need for the activity that we're doing here in the compliance part.
I dare mention Log4j as a driver for that.
Absolutely, yeah. No,
How about adding this interface to maybe buff compliance artifacts, just to have it in mind as an interface?
You mean here somewhere, for example, as a new interface, and then reaching out somewhere to different.
Yes, just to have the link to the topic.
Yeah,
I think
I agree. I agree, and I think that's a very good suggestion. I think over time, it probably some of the tools that do some of the scanning probably will have those capabilities extended. But I agree. I think now probably just to have saying, okay, for the security, you need to do other things, and then we need to define what that looks like.
Just want to add something on this, because then in the whole, at least for us in automotive side, right now we have the European Union dictate to officially has the information of security strings inside the BOM files. So we cannot anymore provide the SBOM files without any security reference that goes to some vulnerabilities come to liquids in some parts. So actually, the compliance need to be done. Yeah.
So actually, then you mean this part, it has to be extended towards this kind of information as well. Then
you have present a connection in some way for the we are not treating the vulnerabilities and scanning vulnerabilities, but we actually linking about the software that you're clearance to the data that can be vulnerable or not. So we need to have a reference, meaning the tools as well. So.
Can I just check? So, are you required to provide the vulnerabilities at the point of distribution, or are you expected, once you provided that, to continue monitoring for new vulnerabilities?
No. This is actually we need the SBOM files need to have the information of which source file is there. But the whole point is that as long that we have the string that identify which version and its source file is there, is the responsibility of doing a regular scanning and other things is related to the other department.
Okay. That's fine, yeah. So I'm with you. So you're basically saying, providing SBOM type information to identify exactly what is being used in those packages.
Correct.
And so that if somebody is taking the overall software product, then they can actually know which vulnerabilities they need to monitor within that package.
Yeah, talking about chain of responsibility, our responsibility in the compliance side ends when we actually identify the software we're using in the whole product. That's it. And then the security people, the crazy people there, handle this product. Yeah, security people can talk to them. Yeah.
Okay, so then the take I would suggest is first of all we keep this currently out of the map. We think about in the capability stream to make a reference here, because from the open source, I think there's one really hard thing to do. We have today we have a globally quite well accepted procedure on publishing information about known vulnerabilities. And there's a common understanding of how such a information against the provider of the software or the project that's providing the software, the disclosure is done in a proper ways. This is very well understood. And then we have also publishing authorities with the NVD and Metro researching and so on. There's a lot of work going on, but then we have a lack in assigning back these information to open source tooling. Currently, we've spent last year quite a while to understand and to resolve that issue, but still the data itself is partly so buggy that requires a lot of manual rework, and we recognize also that the assignment criteria that is used today is not very friendly concerning open source. So probably there's still something that needs to be done on that vulnerability management to really make it a simple function that can be included here. However, what about splitting the forces to get an understanding of more of these that we have not yet assigned fully? Fossology, I think we can remove, that's already here. Does Fossology also have, I think it's also, does it have its own package data repository? I think yes, it does it?
It does for the source code, if you mean that. But it doesn't have I wouldn't call it a repository, actually.
No? So it's just the scanning itself, preparing the reports, and then...
it depends. You probably could put it there, but it's not in the same way like managing different versions of stuff, I would say. You just have the assignment to a source code package and store the data for that. So maybe you can add it, but it's different.
So we could... Yeah, okay. Well, then, if we say the package data repository is there thank you. The package data repository is there to really have a base where we can look up all past releases or versions. Then probably if this is not available, then it's difficult. Yeah, then we should probably not add it there.
It's more source code bundle based, I would say, in Fossology. So
yeah,
not really a package management or something.
Yeah, but if you can find, for example, say this is an open source component and I can look it up here inside Fossology when it has been scanned, then I think that would be enough.
Yeah,
for example, saying, no, we took from GitHub version 3.5.
That can be done.
Associated, then this should be enough, yeah. Cool. Anybody ever came across Bubbly? Never heard about that.
No.
That sounds funny. Barista also has a cool name, but I've never worked with it.
Yeah, can you please add the vulnerable code on the list of vulnerability tools? I just push it on the chat.
Vulnerable code, okay.
Yeah.
I will copy it that way. So, is this Philip's assessment or assignment of vulnerable? Oh, it's not touchable. Okay, now I can move it. That's nice. Is this a public assignment of?
Yeah, this is actually fully open source and public. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Just to add, I think Ord also has a module to query for vulnerabilities from a specific database, which I can't remember right now.
Yes, actually, Ord can access all these tools. So Ord can go to the vulnerable code or the other proprietary tools. So we just tell to Ord to look there, but not to actually do the work.
Okay, cool.
Let's
Lpd Collector. Ldb Collector. Anybody heard about that?
Ldb Collector. Yes, it was. Okay, wait. Ldb Connector is a tool from Max Huber from the TNG. So this tool actually, so basically, this tool actually just pick a set of licenses from every single possible source, like in license handbooks and the SPDX org license, and create a merged license format that actually generates outputs for tools like ORT or different outputs. So basically, it's a license processing part to create the resulting configuration files with license for tooling.
So it is a sort. It's a kind of. It's processing data from all sorts that has been collected into package repository and preparing it.
No. It gets data from the license handbooks. So, for example, each company or even in public having a license handbook with all the licenses that we use in your company and your obligations. But the most common and default one that people use is from spdx.org.
Mm-hmm.
And then it picks every single data from that, merge it in a big data source, and then creates the configuration files for specific tooling, like ORT or elsewhere. So it's basically getting input for license data and output the configuration file for the toolings to use it.
So is it actually then sort of a black and white listing mechanism?
It's not too black and white at all. Let me try to actually. What's happening?
Everything's fine.
Okay, so let me try to find just a second that I show to you. So this is it's very difficult to explain for me that one. Okay. So let's. Okay, can you go ahead and look? I need to find out here.
Okay. I noted since we are about to end the appointment for today, I think probably we can assign a couple of tools for that someone is taking a tool and then probably completing the data over the weeks until our next meeting. We probably might assign these remaining tools to someone. I could take if the chat with Max and Philip, because I'm pretty much familiar with them, so it will be easy to call them and get it clarified. Probably someone has experience with 360 Tenor and can have a chat with them. Oops.
Can I do a quick share, or is it or not?
Oh, I'm not sharing. Sorry.
Okay, so let's try.
Let me just check. Where's the sharing? Here's the sharing.
Yes, sure.
Presenter. Sorry, I was always working on this slide. I didn't recognize.
Second, presentation. Share external video. Select. It's okay. I can share my screen. Just a second. Okay. No. Okay, I think type screen, and there it goes. Can you see my screen now? Yes.
It's about to open, yeah.
Ooh, okay, wait, I will change it for the. I think you can see now. That's the Ldb Collector.
Okay, so these are sources for license information on the left-hand side, configuration manual, all rights classifications, raw data, license name.
In general, it's a good way to actually you see every single license that exists in the world and then getting your processing tool in there. Of course, this is not company level. You need to actually have your, if in companies itself, you need to have your own open source handbook, looking for the lawyers. But on this way, at least we understand which license exists in the world and can map in what is not available in our company and if you are using or not. It's a very, very, very interesting tool.
Actually, it's from the capability map point of view, it would be something that's more or less interesting solution to populate the license DB that you are using, because it's actually really grabbing a lot of sources.
It's not work that way because each and every license need to pass, at least in our case, need to pass to our open source lawyers, and then we need to discuss each new license. So we cannot simply add it on the open source handbook. We need to validate if you can use it or not. For example, GPL3, etc. This kind of thing need to go to the lawyers. But then, at least, well, I'm using this internally in a way that I always has a comparison with the full set of existing licenses in the world. But I know exactly what is actually exists in our site, not exists or approved or not approved. It means that if some software starts using some license that we don't know, automatically I can send to the open source lawyers and discuss on the next meeting. So for this, it's very good one.
Excellent. Cool. So then I guess feel invited to pick one of these not assigned solutions. My aim would be that for the next meeting we have probably populated the list, and so feel free. I will publish this in the meeting in the typical repository. So feel free to check out the slide and add your support. The next meeting will be 16th of February. This afternoon, I guess I'm not sure whether Shane is able to organize the meeting, so because I won't be available, but probably it will happen anyway. So next meeting, 16th of February, there we will be back.
So see you then.
Thank you, Jan.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.